A government senator suggests a multi-million-dollar loan is indicating increasing confidence in the Barbados economy. A promise of expanded health care when economic conditions improve. And in sports, Sangakkara makes it 4 World Cup tons in a row.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Lisa Broom. This is the CBC Evening News. Fresh signs of confidence in the local economy. That's the view of Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Economic Affairs, Senator Jepter Ince, giving his take on a $67.9 million loan secured by government for the Barbados Water Authority Smart Meter Replacement Program. A resolution on the loan received support from both the government and the opposition in the Senate today. 95% of that loan from Canadian firm Citibank NA is covered by an insurance guarantee and, according to Senator Ince, has been negotiated at very low rates to allow the BWA to better manage Barbados' water supply.
If you now add the LIBOR overnight rate to 1.55%, you will see that this loan is going to come in at 1.95% for 9 years. But yet this was a government who the opposition term cannot go into the international markets and borrow anything. It is going to be too expensive because of the downgrade. This is the same government. But yet we are now having a 9-year loan at 1.95%. In the face of a recession and in the face of what they term junk bond status.
Senator Ince says the fact that government could attract this type of financing speaks volumes for the job being done by the Frundell Stewart administration and its efforts to control the deficit. Opposition Senator Dr. Jerome Walcott also supported the resolution for the loan, but wants more information on government's plans to augment Barbados' water supply.
Be it in terms of greater desalination or indeed the plans for reverse osmosis in the belt, which we were told about now for the last 2 or 3 years, and which I figured in terms of the new mains lane program to allow more water to, in terms of volume, to the eastern parts, that she could have perhaps told us, given an update in terms of what is happening with the reverse osmosis project. If not, who is being given the contract in terms to tell us where we are. I'm also interested in hearing in terms of the actual restructuring of the Barbados Water Authority in order to make it not only efficient in monitoring water usage and wastage, but in terms of its manpower.
The Barbados Water Authority has been able to rectify problems at some of its pumping stations, which led to several outages across the island. A ruptured main leading to the Bell pumping station led to dry taps in parts of St. Michael, Christchurch and St. George. Meanwhile, problems at Golden Ridge pumping station led to outages in parts of St. Joseph as well. BWA Communications Specialist Joyanne Haig is, however, reporting that all pumping stations are now back online and normal service restored gradually during the course of the day. The BWA apologizes to householders and businesses affected by today's outage. Barbados has been making some strides in attracting non-traditional international business. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Maxine McLean, says a recent double taxation agreement with Rwanda is one example of the work being done in the Ministry of International Business. She was speaking in the Upper House on the Corporate and Trust Service Providers Bill, which she describes as one element in a toolkit to offer the best to prospective clientele. Senator McLean says much of Barbados' success has come from recommendations made to interested parties by companies which have already used the island's services.
We have been able to negotiate a double taxation agreement with Rwanda, which would have been represented at that mining conference, and to start the process of negotiating similar arrangements with other countries. The significance of that, Madam President, is important on several counts. One, the speed at which we were able to negotiate that in a situation where, in the case of Rwanda, while we are sister countries of the Commonwealth, Rwanda being the last country to join the Commonwealth, we had no diplomatic relations.
Meanwhile, opposition Senator Wilfred Abrams believes Barbados could run the risk of overregulation in some sectors. He complains that some of the changes being proposed are too vague, while others can impact new lawyers.
If there is a category of people who, by virtue of their profession and by virtue of the requirements that they have to satisfy the government with every year to get their practicing certificate or accounting certificate or medical certificate, those requirements, then are we looking to force additional regulations and expenses on them that may in some instances be duplications of what they already have to satisfy to practice in their professions? Or are we looking at the people who can just set up shop and say, I wish to practice in this area?
An appeal tonight for government to sit with the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association with a view to removing obstacles preventing industry players from accessing promised duty-free concessions. It comes from BHTA President Sunil Chatrani. He has warned that brand Barbados is in danger and says the hotel sector could lose its appeal if something isn't done to address the situation immediately. His comments came during the association's first quarterly meeting for the year, held at the Hilton Barbados.
We have been working at this tirelessly now, week after week after week. If it is not one obstacle, then it is another after another. If it is not an interpretation of the Act, then it is one of process or condition to be met, or general instruction required, or systems that need to be updated, and the list goes on. I honestly stand here today and cannot tell you what the next single obstacle is that we need to work through.
And Minister of Finance Chris Sinclair is tonight assuring the hoteliers that the matter is being dealt with.
My understanding is that there's one or two issues that have prevented the widespread application of the changes under the CBA to allow for that. So I spoke with them. We have determined that we will have a meeting on either Thursday or Friday to look at what the challenges are. I've already spoken to Customs, the Controller of Customs, and she is fully aware and will be at the meeting. And we'll be dealing with the staff in relation to having those, any administrative impediments removed. But as far as from the policy perspective is concerned and from the legal perspective, the everything else is in place for that. So that's how we're dealing with it.
Health Minister John Boyce assures that health promotion units and workplace wellness programs will be expanded once economic conditions improve, that is. Mr. Boyce says the message is not to deter private sector agencies from establishing similar programs.
I give you the assurance, though, that as soon as economic conditions permit, there will be an increase in resources to expand the health promotion unit and, by extension, the workplace wellness programs. Of course, this does not mean that the NGOs and the private sector agencies, which are already on board and are already building out workplace wellness programs in the private sector, have in any way to cut back or to hold off of their programs.
The minister was speaking at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Centre, where the Barbados Association of Palliative Care held its fourth conference. The theme was Healthy Lifestyle, Where is the Patient? Mr. Boyce also says there will be no change in the healthcare allocation for the next financial year.